Something happened today. Not where you could see it. Not with loud words. Not in a place anyone else would notice. A message arrived. A simple piece of news. Quiet. Almost easy to ignore. Yet the moment it reached this person, everything inside them became still. They stopped what they were doing. They looked at the words again. Then again. As if one small truth had suddenly made many old memories speak at once. You may not understand why this matters yet. But before this moment ends, another piece will appear. There is something you have carried in silence for a long time. Not because you wanted to deceive anyone. Not because your heart was cold. Sometimes people hide the deepest parts of themselves because they fear those parts will never be understood. Sometimes silence becomes a safe place. Until one ordinary day changes everything. Today was that day. But the reason is still hidden. Have you noticed how life often moves quietly before it changes? No warning. No loud sound. Just one conversation. One unexpected message. One moment that makes yesterday feel different from today. That is where this story begins. Not with answers. With questions. Because questions have a way of opening doors that certainty never can. And another door is about to open. This person had believed they already knew who you were. They remembered your smile. They remembered your kindness. They remembered the times you stayed strong when no one thanked you for it. But today they learned there was another side of your story. A side you never placed into words. Not because it was shameful. Because it was deeply personal. The next part will help that make sense. You. Yes, you. Perhaps you have wondered why some people suddenly become quiet after learning something important. Why they stop speaking. Why they begin looking back instead of forward. It is not always regret. Sometimes it is respect growing for the first time. Sometimes truth arrives too gently for quick reactions. And that gentle moment is still unfolding. This person did not receive every answer today. Only one small piece. Yet even one small piece can change the picture. Imagine holding only one corner of a puzzle for years. Then suddenly finding another. Nothing is complete. But everything feels different. That is what happened. And there is still another layer. The strange part is this. The news was not really about what you did. It was about why you did it. Those are two very different things. Many people judge actions. Very few understand the heart behind them. Today, someone finally paused long enough to wonder about your heart. Before you move on, keep this thought close. There was a quiet moment. No audience. No applause. No dramatic scene. Just silence. And in that silence, this person remembered something they had once ignored. A look on your face. A sentence you almost finished. A goodbye that sounded normal but carried hidden weight. Those memories no longer looked the same. Another truth is waiting nearby. Perhaps you have carried a secret hope. Not for praise. Not even for an apology. Only to be understood. That hope is more powerful than many people realize. Because being understood heals places that words alone cannot reach. Yet understanding rarely arrives all at once. It comes one small step at a time. Today may have been the first step. But not the last. Something unexpected happened after the news settled into their heart. Instead of asking, "Why didn't you tell me?" another question quietly appeared. What was this person carrying all alone? That question changed everything. Not because it solved the mystery. Because it opened compassion. And compassion often begins where judgment ends. Still. One final piece remains hidden. If you listen closely, you may recognize something inside yourself. There were days when you smiled while carrying unseen weight. Days when you gave comfort while needing comfort yourself. Few people noticed. Even fewer understood. But unseen moments are never meaningless. Sometimes they become the very moments another heart remembers years later. That memory has not finished growing. This person now sees small details they once walked past. Your patience. Your restraint. The way you protected peace instead of proving yourself right. Those things looked ordinary then. Today they look priceless. Yet they still do not know the whole story. Neither do you. Another page is waiting to turn. So do not rush this moment. Some truths are like sunrise. They cannot be forced. They arrive little by little. Light first. Then color. Then warmth. Today was only the first light. And just beyond it, another quiet discovery is already beginning. My beloved child never needed to speak twice for your heart to hear what mattered most. The silence did not end after that first moment. It grew deeper. Not heavy. Not cold. Just thoughtful. This person carried the news through the rest of the day, but every ordinary moment felt different. A familiar street. A simple cup of coffee. A passing song. Somehow, everything reminded them of you. Yet one question would not leave their mind. If this is true, what else have I never seen? That question stayed with them. Later, something unexpected happened. They reached for an old memory they had not visited in a long time. Not because someone asked them to. Because their heart quietly led them there. A smile you once gave. A moment when you stepped aside so someone else could shine. A conversation that seemed ordinary then. Now it felt completely different. Memory has a strange way of changing when truth touches it. But another piece is still waiting. You. Have you ever wondered why some people understand your value only after they see your silence from a new angle? It is not because you changed overnight. Sometimes their eyes finally become ready to see what was always there. Perhaps that has happened more than once in your life. And perhaps today is another beginning. The next layer will explain why. As evening came, this person almost reached out. Their hand moved. Then stopped. Not because they no longer cared. Because they suddenly realized that rushed words often hide real feelings. Some conversations deserve patience. Some hearts deserve careful steps. So they waited. Not with distance. With respect. That quiet choice matters more than you know. There was another surprise. Someone asked them a simple question. Are you all right? For a moment, they smiled and said, I'm fine. But inside, they knew something had shifted. Not dramatically. Softly. Like a door opening without a sound. They were no longer thinking about the past in the same way. They were beginning to wonder about the future. Still, the biggest answer has not appeared. Maybe you have been carrying a feeling that no one could explain. You sensed that something was changing. Not around you. Within you. Sometimes your heart notices a new season before your mind understands it. That quiet feeling is not meaningless. It often arrives before the story makes sense. And your story is still unfolding. Then another memory returned. This one was different. They remembered a time when you stayed calm while others expected you to defend yourself. At the time, they thought you were simply being quiet. Today they wondered. Were they protecting something deeper? That single thought changed the meaning of an entire memory. One more layer has yet to unfold. The night became still. No distractions. No noise. Only reflection. In that peaceful silence, this person realized something surprising. The strongest people are not always the loudest. Sometimes strength looks like kindness that asks for nothing back. Sometimes courage looks like choosing peace when proving a point would be easier. They began to see those quiet strengths in you. But they have only seen the edge of the picture. Before this moment passes, remember this. Not every important change begins with a conversation. Some begin with understanding. Some begin with respect. Some begin with one heart deciding to see another heart more clearly than before. That decision can change everything without a single word being spoken. Yet another chapter is waiting. You may think nothing is happening. You may look around and see only ordinary days. But many meaningful moments happen where no one is watching. A heart can change in complete silence. A new understanding can grow without anyone announcing it. The deepest changes are often invisible at first. That is why patience has such quiet power. And patience is becoming part of this journey. Just before the night ended, this person looked toward tomorrow with a different heart. Not because every mystery had been solved. Not because every question had been answered. But because hope had quietly taken the place of confusion. Hope does not need all the answers. It only needs one reason to keep moving forward. Today became that reason. Still, the final truth remains beyond the horizon. Morning arrived quietly. Nothing around this person looked different. The same sky. The same routine. The same familiar world. Yet inside, everything felt slightly changed. It is amazing how one small truth can make ordinary moments feel brand new. But what happened next was even more unexpected. Instead of searching for more information, this person began searching their own heart. That was the real surprise. Many people look outside themselves for answers. Very few stop and ask, "What have I been missing?" Today, that question became impossible to ignore. And another layer was waiting. You. Perhaps you have wondered why some people only understand your value after time has passed. Not because time changes who you are. Because time removes the noise. When the noise fades, quiet truths become easier to hear. Maybe that is happening now. But the picture is still incomplete. As the day moved forward, something small caught this person's attention. A place you once mentioned. A song you once liked. A simple phrase you used without thinking. None of these seemed important before. Now each one felt like a piece of a story they had never fully read. They realized they had listened to your words. But not always to your heart. That realization stayed with them. Still, one important piece has not appeared. There was a moment when they almost smiled. Not because every question had been answered. Because they finally understood that people can carry unseen battles while still choosing kindness. That thought filled them with quiet respect. Respect grows slowly. But once it takes root, it changes everything it touches. Another page is about to turn. Have you noticed how the smallest memories often become the strongest? Not the grand moments. The little ones. A gentle laugh. A patient reply. A kind look when no one else was watching. Those moments returned one by one. And each memory whispered the same question. What else did I fail to see? The answer remained just beyond reach. Later that afternoon, something happened that no one else would have noticed. This person stopped judging the past. Instead, they became curious about it. Curiosity opened a door that pride had kept closed. That door did not reveal everything. It revealed enough to keep hope alive. And hope has its own quiet strength. You may not realize it, but your life has touched people in ways you never measured. Not through perfect words. Not through dramatic moments. But through simple acts that stayed in someone's heart long after the day had ended. Sometimes your greatest impact is the one you never see. Perhaps that thought was meant for you today. Yet another truth remains hidden. As evening returned, this person found themselves thinking less about what was lost, and more about what might still be possible. That is a powerful change. When a heart begins asking about possibility instead of disappointment, a new chapter quietly begins. No promises. No certainty. Only gentle hope. And sometimes, hope is enough to take the next step. But one final layer is still waiting. Before the night ended, they looked up at the sky for a brief moment. Everything was calm. The answers were still incomplete. The story was still unfinished. Yet they felt something they had not felt before. Peace. Not because every mystery had been solved. Because they no longer believed the mystery was something to fear. They believed it was something worth patiently discovering. And perhaps that is where your journey meets theirs. Not at the end of the story, but at the place where both hearts are finally willing to keep reading. The biggest truth has still not been spoken. Because some stories are not meant to end with an answer. There comes a moment in every story when people expect a loud ending. A grand answer. One final sentence that explains everything. But the deepest moments rarely arrive that way. They come quietly. Like the first light before sunrise. Easy to miss. Impossible to forget. And today, your story reaches that quiet place. This person has not learned every secret. They do not hold every missing piece. In many ways, the mystery is still alive. Yet something inside them has changed forever. Not because they finally know everything about you. Because they no longer believe they need to. They have begun to value what cannot be measured. And that changes the way a heart sees another heart. You. Perhaps you have spent too much time wondering whether anyone truly understood you. Whether your silence was mistaken for weakness. Whether your patience went unnoticed. Whether your quiet love disappeared into the background of everyday life. Those questions have stayed with you for longer than you admit. But today, they no longer carry the same weight. Not because someone gave you all the answers. Because your worth was never waiting for perfect understanding. It was always present, even when unseen. Still, one gentle thought remains. This person now looks back with softer eyes. Not eyes searching for mistakes. Not eyes keeping score. But eyes willing to see your story with compassion instead of assumption. That may seem like a small change. It is not. Many relationships never reach that place. Many hearts never become humble enough to look again. Yet this one has. And that quiet change may become the beginning of something beautiful. As the evening settles once more, imagine a calm lake after the wind has stopped. The water reflects the sky because it is no longer fighting the waves. The heart is much the same. When fear grows quiet. When pride steps aside. When judgment loses its voice. The truth does not rush in. It gently appears, one reflection at a time. That is where this person now stands. Not at certainty. At peace. And peace often sees farther than certainty ever could. Maybe you expected this story to end with a dramatic confession. Or a perfect explanation. Or every mystery suddenly falling into place. Life is rarely written that way. The most meaningful endings are often new beginnings. The questions that remain do not have to become burdens. Sometimes they become invitations. Invitations to listen more carefully. To speak more honestly. To love more gently. To believe that every heart carries a story the world cannot fully see. That is the quiet wisdom hidden inside today's journey. Before this moment passes, remember one thing. Never believe that your unseen kindness is wasted. Never believe that your silent strength goes unnoticed forever. Never believe that the good you quietly give disappears without leaving a mark. Hearts remember. Sometimes slowly. Sometimes unexpectedly. But they remember. And the smallest act of love can echo much longer than you imagine. If this story has spoken to your heart, carry its message into your own life. Choose patience before judgment. Choose understanding before assumptions. Choose compassion before conclusions. You may never know whose heart is waiting for that gift. And perhaps, one ordinary day, your kindness will become the quiet truth that changes someone else's world. The mystery of today was never meant to end with certainty. It was meant to leave you with hope. Hope that understanding can grow. Hope that hearts can change. Hope that even when every answer remains hidden, love, grace, and compassion can still write the next chapter. So walk forward with peace. Carry kindness without asking for recognition. Keep your heart open. Because some of the most beautiful stories are still being written, long after we stop searching for the ending.